G'day everyone. People that have followed me for a long time would know I do have a love of gimbals. In fact, you can see them all behind me. I do have quite a few there. But FeiyuTech asked me if I'd be interested in reviewing this. Now, I am going to go away on the weekend, so I've got this today, which is the Friday, and I'm going away for the weekend. So I will be using this extensively over the weekend. And that footage I will leave at the end of this, because it will be posted before this, actually. So I'll leave a link down below so you can check that out as well, so you can sort of see what the footage looks like. From the box, it looks like it's very, very similar to the AK2000S that I have as well. Apart from there's just a wheel missing, which you could program to other things. So that's one thing that's interesting about these. But the cost of this is really incredible. I mean, the prices now that you're getting these gimbals at is really quite amazing. So I thought what we'd do first of all is we'd unbox it, have a look at what's inside this to give you an idea of what's included in this base package. So it's just got foam protection going over it. There's an instruction manual. There's a whole series of leads depending on what sort of camera and everything that you'd like to use. And again, that's your USB-C charging cable. Oops, I just dropped an Allen key. So there's a whole stack of leads, I suppose, depending on what you would want to use there as well. They're all marked, so you'll be able to work out what type of camera you would use it with. And then you've got, let me just check in here first. There's a little mount that you can use to hold your lens up, so that's your lens protection mount. And then there's an Arca Swiss. Now the beauty of this is it's an Arca Swiss compatible plate. Everything I use is Arca Swiss, so that's just amazing. So I'm so happy that I've got that on there. And then there's a nice handle. The handles on these are always built very, very nice. Like they have a very, very nice wide footprint. So that's the handle. And then we have the gimbal itself. So the gimbal's here. And as is usual, let me just get rid of this box. As is usual with the FeiyuTech products, the handles and everything and the build quality on these is really good. It feels very, very nice in your hand. This is one feature that I do love, and I noticed when I looked at the website, and I'll show you that in a minute, that this will point in. So if you are trying to travel with this, it's very, very nice. The handle has a nice wooden grip to it here. It feels nice in your hand if you're holding it there. There's a nice grip just here, or trigger that you can use right at the front. There's a power button, a USB-C here as well. And then you've got your controls, which I'll discuss in a few minutes. But it looks nice. Let me just put the handle on. Now the good part is underneath here too, they give you two, so you can go onto a monopod and also your normal conventional mount as well. So there's two ways you can mount this, so it would screw in directly onto a monopod or something like that. And then if you open this up and stand it up, that's it. So let me take you through just some of the features with this, just so I can sort of show you what's sort of available. So I'll take you to the website. But the price of this is just crazy, because let me switch over. So the price is only $229. Now, I'm not sure whether that's Australian or US. I can't tell, but it seems to be that they're saying they'll ship it to Australia in 5 to 7 days. It's probably US dollars, I would think. But for the price, really, it's crazy. Okay, so let's look at the main specifications that this gimbal has. Its maximum payload is 2.2 kilograms, and that will give you a decent mirrorless camera and also a decent lens. If you want to go above that, you may have to weigh or see how much your gear weighs. But that will stop it from shaking. If you go above that, it could potentially shake. You would have to make sure if you're getting close to that 2.2 kilograms, though, you do balance it very, very well. It's got an OLED touch screen, which is a really nice screen actually, and you can see that quite well even in daylight. It's made from aluminium alloy, so the actual way it's built feels really nice. The quality is definitely there. You can get the handle as well that you can add as an attachment as well. You can also get colored handles and things like that if you want to change the look of it as well. It has USB-C quick charging. Now it fully charges in 1.5 hours. Now you can use a battery charger as well to charge this up while you're using it, because I think it doesn't say in here, but it has about a 7-hour operation. But because it's got the USB-C quick charging, if you have a decent battery bank, you could charge it up on the go. So therefore you'd never really run out. It's got 5 directions that can be adjusted. That means you'll be able to fit this or use this with small cameras and also larger cameras where you might want to move it sort of left or right, or you know, whatever you'd like to do. Now I'll leave the links down below for this so you can have a look at all the camera lists. There's a whole series of cameras that this is available for at the moment, and I suppose they'll update firmware for this as time goes on as well. If you look here, this sort of shows this little folding plate that you can see through the side through here, and I think there's a demonstration of that happening here that you can look at how it folds. So if you were traveling, you could fold it in, because that can get away in the way of your bags and things like that. So that's one great thing as well. It does have a 3-axis motor. You can see also that there's locks. So there's locks on every axis. Now I love that, because if you're traveling around, you don't want this thing flopping all over the place. So what you can do is there's locks on the side that you can just click up, and then that locks it in place. Even if you have your camera on, you can lock it in place, so it helps with balancing as well. So that's a really nice feature. There is a handle with this too that you can get, and I'll just grab that. So this is the handle that you can get. Now this is off the other FeiyuTech gimbal that I've got there, the S version, but I believe that you can buy this as an extra. So if you do want to use this in underslung mode, there is a handle that you can use, and then you can sort of hold it down this way, which is really convenient if you want to have it in underslung mode. Now just to show you too, there are a few different modes that this will give you. There's inception mode that you'll see that he clicks here and then it will spin around. So that gives you an interesting effect if you'd like to use that. There is time-lapse photography if you click here, so you can do time-lapse through the app or just through the menu system on the gimbal itself. There's also vlog selfie, so you can turn around by double clicking or triple clicking the front trigger there, as you see. Now there's also portrait shooting as well. This is very handy if you'd like to shoot for Instagram. It will put the gimbal into that mode so you can do portrait shooting as well. So there's really every mode that you need. So what we'll do now, I'll stick a camera on it, I'll show you how we balance it, and then I'll just take you quickly through the menu of how this works. Okay, so let's have a look at how you'll balance this. Now I'm not going to take you through the whole thing because there's a million of these videos online, but I'll give you basically the way that I do it. Now to start with, what I like to do is have the camera as close to this arm here as possible. That way I know that I can just take the camera off and stick it back in, and there's repeatability there. For instance, if I just grab this, undo it, like it was before, it'll be still balanced. So that's one great way you could just quickly take this off, stick it onto a monopod or onto a tripod or something else. So that's really good as well. So I try to always push it back towards this motor. That also helps it too, because there's not too much of a gap here and it helps the motors anyway. Then all you do is I would just lock the center. So on here, there's a lock that will click up here. That will lock that center part, and then you just move this area here forward or back until you get the camera to sit level, and that's all you do. And then you'll test it this way as well, and you just undo this clamp and then you move it backwards and forwards to get that level as well. Then you'll undo this here and push it backwards or forwards depending on which way it's sitting, and then it should sit fairly flat if you're looking at it like that and like that. The last thing you have to do is this one down here. And what you do, you just have to sort of put it on, say, a 45-degree angle or something like that. And if it doesn't move at all, so you can see that this is nicely balanced on its own. It's not really moving anywhere at all, and it just sits wherever you're going to leave it. And that's it. And the beauty is now, because it's got this removable plate at the bottom, I can just take the camera straight out and just put it onto whatever else I wanted to use, or handhold, or do anything like that. So that's simply how this balances. Remember, the more this is balanced, the better the motors will be, and therefore you'll get less things like shaking and things like that. And the motors will last, or the battery will last much longer as well. Okay, so let me show you how you turn this on. So I just press the power button, and then the FeiyuTech logo will come up. It just means that it's booting up here. And then if you look at it, this is just basically the main interface. Now, looking down here, this is your mode dial. That will change between these modes up the top. If I double click, you'll see it'll move down to the different modes. Triple click, it will move as well. So that's one way you can get through, is just by clicking on your mode. This is if you've got the correct cable in as well, you'll get record. And also if you have the correct cable in, you can go from photo to video, and you can also control things like aperture and shutter speed and everything as well. I haven't even tried that yet. I may look at that at a later date. But you know, I believe with the correct cable, and if your camera is supported, you should be able to change the ISO, shutter speed, etc. So basically all this is these are your modes up the top through here. So this is just pan, and then if you move the gimbal around, I'll show you this in a few minutes. If you move the gimbal around, you'll see that it will just pan. If I click on the next one, it will pan and tilt. So that one will basically go sideways and up and down. This one here is all follow mode, so that will do both pan and tilt, and it'll also sort of go in curve as well as you move around, and I'll show you that bending as you go through it as well. This is your all lock mode, so that locks it all off. If you want to, or if you're worried about touching this interface at all, if you press once on the power button, you'll see the lock screen comes up, and that will lock it off. So that's one way you can do it. If I press it again, it becomes active again. It's got your battery indicator. If you do connect to a camera, then you'll have this camera logo showing up in your Bluetooth as well if you connect through your mobile phone. If you scroll this way, this is where you can see how you can have ISO and your exposure and everything set through this as well. This is also white balance that you can choose as well if you have the appropriate camera that will connect to it. Let me come back through this way. Here as well, you've got inception mode. I showed you these modes before, and motion time lapse, and also selfie. If you hold it up the appropriate way, you can get portrait mode showing as well. And then here, if I put this on, you can have payload setting, and then if you go auto adapt, it will actually do an auto calibration of the camera as well. So it's just waiting now and it's shaking. I'll show this footage as I'm doing this, and then basically once that's done, it will tell you that it's complete. So that's one way you can calibrate your gimbal to match the camera and payload that's on it. Through here too, you've got shooting mode. You can go by default. I've got smooth. I like it to be very smooth. If you want to chase fast action, you can have it on action mode, or you can even customize it too if you wanted to customize it completely to your own liking. So, you know, it is full sort of interface. I like the smooth mode though, unless I am using action. Joystick settings, you can reverse the settings if you want to, and you can also change the speed settings here as well. You can make it faster or slower, so you just set it up to suit your needs. I've got it reasonably slow at the moment. And then the last thing down here is just settings. You can calibrate the gimbal. You should do that every so often. You just click on it and then it'll tell you how to do it. And also you can choose your language as well. So you can see it's a really nice, simple interface. The beauty here is that you don't need to use your mobile phone to control this gimbal, which is really good. Now the joystick itself also will move the camera around. So depending on where you shift the joystick, it will move to that appropriate position, and then if you double click onto the front handle, it brings it back to the center. So that's another great thing as well. Okay, so let's look now at the app, the way the app works. If I'm going to launch Feiyu On, it's this app that you'll see at the top here. Now if I open that up, it's going to look for the camera itself. Now it should find it because it's on auto connect. So it should come up any moment. There you go, now it's connected. Now you can see through here too, if you click onto this little cog wheel up the top, this is where you can set all your settings that I showed you before, which is trigger button settings, so you can change that to something else if you wanted a quick follow lock mode or something like that. Motor strengths you can also do through here as well, and that's your auto calibration down the bottom. You've got your scenes. Like I said, I've got smooth on, but you can also put custom in there as well if you'd like to do it that way. Time lapse, this is where you would set your time lapse as well if you want to do that. You can give it your full pan rotations and everything else. You can tell it the number of photo captures and the wait time between shots as well, and that will be a horizontal calibration. If you find your gimbal is not level on the horizon, you can do a horizontal calibration through here as well. Now this is a great little app because there's a couple of things about this. If you see there's a little cloud up the top right hand side there, if I click on that, it will tell you about your firmware updates. I've just updated the firmware, so everything was updated. It will tell you too whether you've got a camera connected through the top here as well. I haven't at this stage. And then controls through here. This will, if you look at it, that will affect your tilt as well. This one here, if you press on this button, will on the right hand side just above the wheel there, will recenter it again. Like for instance, if I use the wheel to turn around, you can see what I'm doing through here. If I click on that top button just above it, it will recenter it. If I click on this one that's on the bottom part of that wheel, now this is meant to, if you click into here, this is meant to give you the ability to move the camera around with the phone, but it's not working for some reason. It might be something that I'm doing wrong. If I turn it on, it is registering because you can see the degrees that are there, but it might be that it has to be connected by a cable or something. I'm not sure. But anyway, that I'll have to find out about that. It's not something I'll really use much anyway, to be honest. Down at the bottom down here, you can see that there are all your modes, so you can alter just your pan, follow and lock modes, etc. So that's how you'd control all of those. So it's a nice little app. And I think it's great that you've got that control through this, as well as having the control through your back screen as well. I think most 90% of the time I'm just going to be controlling it through the screen that's actually on the gimbal because it's that good. Okay, so let's sum up. With the USB-C to USB-C lead, I can press the record button on the back and that works fine. So hitting that to say press record, stop record, switch to camera mode, etc. works. The only thing I can't get it to work is, and it might be just my settings or something, is I can't change the ISO or the exposure. So that's one thing I'm not sure how to get that working. I'll have to play around with that to see if I can get it to function. The footage is really good from this, and I will leave a link at the end that will be above me soon, and then you'll be able to click onto that to see the full video that I did using this. I did a road trip down the Great Ocean Road with the Sony a7S III, so check that out as well. The footage is great. I love how nicely balanced the whole gimbal is. You know, it's really quite nice and small for what it does, and it's handling easily the Tamron 28-75 here without a problem at all. The app is really quite good. I mean, it's simple in its operation, but it is, you know, it's good for what it does. Although, like I said, I'd probably just prefer to use the controls on the back because the LED screen is so good on the back of this. And apart from that, there's really not much else to say. Thank you so much, FeiyuTech, for sending me this. I really appreciate that. If you have any questions, leave them down below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And like I said, apart from that, have a look at the video that I've shot the footage and let me know what you think. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye for now.